All right. So for sections 3 and 4 on your outline, the films again do a pretty good job of hitting all of these points. They just do it in like different order. So I just wanted to give you an overview again. So the key thing with congressional reconstruction, what the one of the video clips refers to as radical reconstruction, is this is where we can really see Congress kind of taking over Reconstruction from President Johnson because um, President Johnson is not as inclined to provide any assistance to former enslaved peoples. And one of the things we keep seeing happen, and this is on the link that I put on there about his impeachment, is Congress will pass legislation, and then Johnson will veto the legislation that Congress passes, and then Congress they'll use their majority to override his veto, and that happens several times. The Senate website link that I gave you about Johnson's impeachment, it mentions the Freedmen's Bureau bill, and I have that on your outline too. The Freedmen's Bureau bill was a bill that was supposed to like ease former slaves like into freedom, like help them transition. So it would send people down to the South to like create schools. It would have lawyers there to help negotiate contracts, and it was set to expire. But obviously, it's still necessary. And so the Congress votes to extend the Freedmen's Bureau bill, but Johnson says it's just giving extra rights or privileges to formerly enslaved people, which is ridiculous because it's trying to fix several hundred years of slavery. So they'll override that veto, and Congress does that several times. And so that's just a way of showing that like Congress is taking over Reconstruction. And then the Military Reconstruction Act, this is on your outline because this is an example of how the South is basically dragging its feet and not wanting to, you know, give the vote to formerly enslaved peoples or treat them with any equality whatsoever. And so what the Military Reconstruction Act did is it divided the South into 5 districts and then sent the military down to enforce order. And remember that military sometimes can be black men now. And so imagine from a white perspective, white Southern perspective, how that's going to feel to some people. It's going to feel literally, and again, the video clips make this point, like the world is turned upside down, and that the South will feel like they're under martial law. And it's in that context that they'll create the KKK, which is in that like Reconstruction in the South part of your outline. The impeachment, again, I gave you a link from the Senate website to kind of go over Johnson's impeachment. It's way more detailed than it needs to be like on the articles of impeachment. You're really just interested in those specific paragraphs that I pointed out to you in the text. Ultimately, he's found guilty. Sorry, no, scratch that. He's impeached, right? Because impeached doesn't mean that you're removed from office. Impeached just means that there's enough evidence to hold a trial. There have been 3 presidents impeached. Johnson, Clinton, and Trump have all been impeached. But none of those presidents were found guilty to be removed from office. Johnson was kept in office by 1 vote. And again, that website looks at that and kind of puts that into context for you. Congress will then also pass the 14th and 15th Amendment. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment gives birthright citizenship, meaning it's a reaction to that Dred Scott case that said black people aren't citizens. So the 14th Amendment gives birthright citizenship, and it also says that people have due process under the law, meaning that we're all treated equally under the law. It's an attempt to deal with the black codes, but it's not going to have any real substance until the 20th century. We'll first see it in 1954 with the Brown v. Board Act of Education, and then you saw it most recently in your life in 2015 with the decision that gave that allowed for same-sex marriage. 15th Amendment gets more specific and says you cannot deny black people, black men, the right to vote. You cannot deny someone the right to vote on the basis of race, previous conditions of servitude, and so it gives the franchise to black men. Note that women aren't included in that, and in my women's history class we spend nearly a whole lecture going over this because it will split the women's rights movement. Some women will accept the fact that black men get the right to vote first, and others say, nope, we're not going to accept that. And so it splits that movement. You've got a literacy test in your lecture module as an example of the ways in which white Southerners still found a means to restrict black men from voting. And then the film clip talks about black legislatures. I'm trying to keep these videos at 5 minutes, and I got a little over, so I'm make my words go too fast here. But the clip speaks about black legislators, the Ku Klux Klan, and then you've got a separate clip about sharecropping. So I think I've hit all the points on that outline in these couple little videos between the websites, my explanation, and the videos, film clips. But if you have any questions, you can leave those in the modules below. Thanks.